done.
Thank you. I'm going to start my talk with a really short story from one of my favourite TED Talks by a man called Benjamin Zander. Some of you may have seen this talk. He's a very well-known conductor, and his talk was about the transformational power of classical music, and it was truly wonderful. Please look it up. But he started his talk with this very short story, and it goes like this. 2 travelling salesmen. This is in the 1900s, and they've gone over to Africa, and they sell shoes. So they telegram back to the UK, and the first one says, "Hopeless situation. These people do not wear shoes." And the second one telegrammed back, and he said, "Great opportunity. These people do not wear shoes." So this talk is all about the fact that we always have a choice. So I'm going to take you to 2008. 2008, I was in year 3 of my business, Truly Madly Baby. What a name. And we were a party plan company who went out into the UK, and we held parties selling fabulous baby products. Now, 3 years previous, my son, Sam, my beautiful son, Sam, had just been born. I completely fell in love with him. He was fabulous. And I decided I would not go back to work. I would start a business. Because that's what you do when you've had a 3-month-old baby, is it? Not? Not only that, when he was 5 months old, I decided to apply for Dragon's Den. Yeah, there's silence in the room. I am officially mad. Within 2 weeks of applying, I was in front of the dragons, the 5 powerful, rich dragons, pitching Truly Madly Baby with just 6 consultants across the UK, and I was very proud. Theo Paphitis and Peter Jones were bidding against each other to invest in my business. Who knew? And Peter won. Peter Jones won. I shook hands with him on the day at the filming, and I said yes to £75,000 for 45% of my business. So off we went on the journey. 6 months later, still in 2005, we actually were shown on the BBC 2, and it went out to the nation. And that evening, I had 2,500 emails drop into my inbox, various things, by which time I had not done the deal with Peter. So just so you're aware, he did not continue with that investment. And some of those emails were from people who wanted to invest in my business. One of them was somebody I knew. And she had played hockey with me, and she was a mum, and she was a financial director. Well, every salesperson needs a financial director. Trust me. So we did the deal. So we're now back in 2008, and we're across the boardroom table. We have turned over our first million. We have made profit. We have 432 consultants across the UK, from Orkney down to Guernsey, doing Truly Madly Baby parties. And we have inquiries from America, Australia, and Europe to go global. Finally, global domination. But we had never done any of the groundwork we should have done. And I had worked 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 years with a small child, and I'd worked in the business and not on it. And so guess what? We were a victim of our own success. We could not manage the volume of business we had got coming in. So we needed more investment, which was that discussion that day, that fateful day in 2008. And yes, my investor said, "I will put in whatever you want, uncapped." And her deal with me was $75,000 originally for 42% of the business, just so you're aware. But I want 75% of your business. So remember, we talked about the fact that this talk is very much about choices, and the choices we make, and we are responsible for every choice we make. That choice was very easy. I said no. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone who wanted to buy her out And on that same day, almost to the day I stood in front of the dragons 3 years prior, she closed my business down. She took me into administration, she bought it back, and she continued the next day to run Truly Madly Baby, Dragon's Den winner. It was like grief for me. I had started my business because of my son, so it was very personal, it was very emotional. So it felt like actually I had lost something very, very special. My mum said, "You don't need to do anything. Karma will prevail." Good old mum. But do you know what? I was so tired, I was so exhausted, I actually listened to her for once. This was the May 2008. By August 2008, I was expecting my second baby. And do you know what? Here was the light at the end of the tunnel. Finally. Maybe I was just going to move on. I was so exhausted. Maybe it was a great thing. That same month, we found out Mum had breast cancer. So visiting her one day in the hospital, I started a miscarriage. I went straight into A&E. Then I was moved into hospital for 3 days. On returning home, I realised that I'd lost all hope of having another baby, and I had also got uncertainty around my mum's illness. It was a very worrying time. And by March 2009, my marriage ended. So you can imagine, I felt very much like this picture, which is why I selected it. It just about summed up how I was feeling. However, was I in a hopeless situation, or did I have a great opportunity? I have to tell you, you probably didn't think back then I had a great opportunity. But trust me, I did. So I set out to find a job. And I went to an agency and I said, "I've done sales all my life, that's what I want to do." They showed me this amazing job, and I said, "I want that job." So I'm 40 years old, I'm bankrupt, I'm a single mum, and I've got no job. I want that job. And they came back and they said, "They don't want you." I thought, well, why wouldn't they want me? I've got huge sales experience. They want someone from the industry. Okay, I says to the agents, go back in a week's time. If they haven't found someone, come back, phone them up, and say to them they need to see me. In a week's time, I got a phone call from a very excited agent who said, "I've got you an interview." And I went and I got the job. And it felt like, and the reason I picked this, I had a much nicer car than that as my company car, but it did feel like I'd gone back 10 years. I'd done this stuff 10 years ago, so my pride was damaged and my ego was absolutely battered. But I made a choice. I needed to work. So that first year, my £1.5 million target, where they gave me all of the DREG accounts, you know, some of you in sales might know all about that. Have these, nobody's ever bought anything on this list. Okay, and I turned it into business. 1.5 million, smashed it. Second year, thank you. Thank you. Second year, head of sales. Whoa, now I'm getting promoted. This is amazing. Now I'm going to manage a team. I've never done that before. That's amazing. 14 people on their knees, missing their 6 million target by £2 million. Okay. Are we going to have a hopeless situation? Are we going to have a great challenge? Great opportunity. So we got together. We looked at why people wanted to buy what we got. We looked at our strengths. We went out there. We never once chased the target. Never chase the target. Just make relationships. And that's what we did. And by the following year, we smashed the 6 million target by £180,000. I'm loving all this whopping for my sales figures. But we did. It was wonderful. 2012, moving you on a little bit. Here's my mum, my beautiful mum. She became really poorly. In January, we found out she got advanced liver cancer, and by March, we'd lost her. I didn't cry. I looked after my dad, because my dad was in pieces. My dad was just absolutely broken. And we carried on, and I tried to do my absolute best to make sure he was okay, my team were okay at work, and that everyone else was okay except for me. You are built by all of the mistakes that you make. You may have seen that at the very beginning, and here was a mistake I did make. I did not grieve for my mum. So 6 months later, I collapsed in the shower, sobbing uncontrollably, and finally grieved for my mum. So it was just my dad and me, my fabulous, gorgeous, wonderful dad. I tell everyone about my dad. I adored him. And we went on a journey for 3 years together, and I looked after him and I rebuilt him. And finally, we decided we'll buy a house together. I was on my own, he was on his own. And we were both lonely. I saw him pretty much every other day. I phoned him every day. So let's buy a house. He sold his bungalow really quickly, cash buyer, no chain, fabulous. And then we were told the really devastating news that my dad was really poorly. He had leukemia, and within weeks, we were going to lose him. This was really, really tough time for me, because this picture really does sum up that very deep, dark place I was in emotionally. I had had loss after loss after loss after loss, and I just didn't really know whether I could bounce back again. Somebody said to me once I had bounce back ability, which I really liked, but at times I doubted it. And here's the thing. Surely we make some of our best choices in our darkest times. And that's my message for you guys today in the audience. Because my dad always said, there is no such word as can't, right from when I was a small child. And do you know what? This is true. And anyone who wants to disagree with me, come and try, because I'm ready for you. This is true. No such word as can't. And he left this amazing legacy for me. When my mum was poorly, she would not talk to me about being ill. And that was very, very hard for me. I wanted to ask her, are you scared? Are you frightened? I wanted to ask her how she was feeling. My dad, we spent 4 weeks together in this beautiful hospice talking about nothing else. We planned a funeral. Oh my goodness, he was so demanding. But he also said this to me, Jules, I'm not scared of dying. And Jules, you're going to buy your house. And Jules, you're going to go on an amazing holiday. And do you know what else? You're going to do amazing things, because there's no such word as can't. And so I started a business last year as a sales coach, because what else do I know best about? Sales. And not only that, I've gone on to do so many amazing, wonderful things, because you always have a choice as to how you deal with things. Here's the thing I learned, big time. Let's not live in the past. We don't need to go there. The only time we need to go there is to see how far we have come. Let's not live in the past. We can't change anything. We made our decisions, we made our choices. But let's think about the opportunities those choices have created. And let's not go into the future. Oh my goodness, you can have your aspirations, but when you future catastrophize, believe you me, it's a huge worry. And you don't know what's going to happen next, as my story tells you, and as your stories probably tell all of you too. Let's live in the now, because the now is this. The now is a TEDx talk. This was on my vision board for a long time in the future. I can promise you that. And I had 7 days, and I was here, and I love the fact that I've been able to talk to you guys. And I hope I've been able to inspire you that the now is here. This is true. This is what we know to be true. And I want to do one last thing before I go. Now, you've got to promise me this. I want you all to close your eyes. And I can't see any of you because of these lights. Okay? So I am trusting that you are all going to close your eyes just for a minute. And I want you to think of a dream that you have. I want you to think of a passion that's burning inside you right now, something you're scared to do that you really want to do. One thing. Now open your eyes. And I want you to tell me, is it going to be one day? Or is this day one? You decide. Thank you.